And we are live, season 3, season 7, episode 3. We've got our normal
crew,
what do we call it? Criminal culprits on. We've got both
cohorts
Rusty
in crime.
Dan. Yeah, exactly. And it looks like we already have both Chris and Tim in the house. And so thanks for joining us. And we were just in the room as we were starting to go live, and we noticed you guys in there. And if either of you would like to jump in on the show tonight, you're welcome to. I know that that some can, some can't sometimes, time commitment wise, but you're welcome to do that. You're first in, and so we thought we'd ask you to join if you'd like.
Yeah.
But as people are contemplating that, before I send links out, how are you guys doing?
Well, for me, I'd say today's a bad day, but
oh no. Well, do tell.
Just pain.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. It was like last night I was on my way to church to do my men's group, and somebody blew. Dan knows where they're at. The cows, the AE cows.
Mm-hmm.
On my way to my house. Somebody blew through the intersection.
Yep, right there. Yep.
And they're probably doing about 60 when they blew through a red light right in front of me, and I slammed on my brakes, and it just shooting pain right through my back, and I've been aggravated ever since. So just pain.
Well, that's not good.
But you've had driving troubles lately. Coming back from Iowa City, you said
that was a nightmare. I avoided 2 pileups and on my way back home Saturday night. So, like, good God. It was demolition derby night on the I-80.
Nice maneuvering then.
It's like when you get individuals driving 45.
That's normal.
On I-80, which is 70 miles per hour, and they're doing 45, people start getting irate and riding their ass and trying to get out of the way. And they brake checked the individuals behind them, and next thing you know, it's like cars going everywhere. You watch it going live at the demolition derby. It's like, and you're driving through all the wreckage. You're like,
yikes.
Steaming vehicles. And you're like, ooh, I missed that one. It's like, good God.
Wow. That's not good.
Well, we got Mel's in the house tonight. Howdy ho.
Oh, Mel. Hey.
Yes.
So other than that, just a little bit of aggravation. We're doing some work. If you want me to start since I'm in the corner up here, I could start.
Yeah, if you want to start.
Yeah. Anybody that's over in my channel has been watching anything will see that I've finished these guys. I got these all.
Yes.
Done. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've been working hard.
Yeah, these are... I did get the replacement metal miniatures came in the mail. And so I got those painted up in about 2 hours. It didn't take me very long. Most of that time was waiting for the wash to dry on them. But it's like, here's my 3D printed little Stuart tank.
Yes, that came out really nice.
Yeah, and the nice thing is it's really heavy because I forgot to make it hollow.
Well, maybe you purposely forget next time because it is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's cool. Like when it's nice and soft,
nice and hefty.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's very satisfying.
I like the heft of it. hefty. But
I would agree.
It's the heft of it's really nice, but the amount of resin that's stuck inside that thing is like,
How much would you say? How much does it change the price, or percent wise or dollar wise?
Oh, I could probably, with what I used up inside it, I could probably print about 1.5 more of these.
Oh, that's substantial.
Yeah, that's a lot of resin that goes into one side of one of these things.
Well, it's got extra
when you
armor.
make them hollow, they're pretty light.
But you got to look at it a couple different ways, though. Although that's true, you could maybe make 2 of them to have them hollow. But then you ask yourself, like, I know that it costs more than $2 a resin, but you have to ask yourself, let's say it costs like $2 a resin. You're like, well, I could do 2 of them, for the $2 and they cost $1. And I would tell you, you know what? I would tell you that the heft of it's worth more than the dollar. You know what I mean? Like,
and why so, is filling full of lead?
Yeah. The question really, what it comes down to, is just, like whether it's, you enjoy like
what makes you happy.
Yeah. Because I print a lot more solid than I should, but I do for that reason.
It's only worth it if you think it is. I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah, if you're not worried about the money aspect of it, it's not a big deal. I printed these guys solid too, so they're
so much cheaper than what it cost anyway. Like if you compare it to what it would have cost you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I got
what do you think that tank would have cost you? Like a kit?
Oh, the actual kit, 25, I think it is, $30.
Yeah, I got the Warlord resin one a few years ago, which I haven't painted and done, and I want to remember if it was like, $25 to $30, something like that. I might have got it on sale, but
yeah. And what do you think the resin cost you? Just for that?
Oh, the resin?
Just for that model?
Yeah. What would you say?
That was probably about $2-3 worth of resin, easy.
So there you go.
To make it solid, even?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, heck,
it's hard to say because I forgot that I didn't pay attention to how much it was. The print cost was it. I could go back and look at it and
so
see.
Did you buy just the Stewart, or was it free, or is it a package thing, or part of the subscription you have?
It's from the same designer. I bought the 2 Jeep models. This come as a 2 Jeeps were a set. You had 3 different kind of Jeeps. There's a third one, which is the ambulance one. It has a stretcher and everything on it. But this is a standard Wiley's Jeep, and then there's the armored one. So,
okay.
And there's the third one which I could do. And then from the same guy that designed he designed this one too. So I just, as a package deal, I got them all 3.
Right. Okay.
And then also, I think the same guy that I bought the heavy machine guns too.
Oh, okay.
So I did the Russians, the heavy machine gun from the Russians. These are actually Siberian plastic kit with the 3D printed heavy machine gun that I just put on a base.
Okay.
I have like plenty of medium machine guns from the Russians, so I'll just use the base. And then these are the North Koreans that I did. It's an actual light machine gun box set that there's 10 in it. Comes with 2 light machine guns. And when I bought it, the barrels were all bent up and some were broke and everything. So they sent me replacements ones. And I got them the other day. And it's like, as soon as I got them in, I was like, cleaned them up and primed them. And it's like I had them within 2 hours of priming. I think I had them all painted up.
Oh, nice. Have you used your North Korean, any of that Korean War stuff yet?
No.
Game?
I talked to individuals over our game shop about using them, and it's like, nobody ever plays that era. Like, it's the same.
It's the same. People could just take an American force, with a couple of late war vehicles, or even not.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Everything that's in the North Korean War was in 1945, so there's nothing new.
Yeah, at least in some quantities, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same game, so okay, whatever.
That's interesting. I've been playing a while.
That there's a lot of these guys that they go to the Bug Eater and they play over there, but they're kind of in some ways kind of different in some ways.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Then I got the War Dogs. So,
oh yeah, the bomb dogs.
Yeah,
those things were fun.
The Mind Doggers. Well, they jumped all over my case about these little guys. So I got the dogs.
Why?
Yeah. Well, they said that I was an evil person for having Mind Dogs. I'm like, what the heck? I don't care. It's like,
well, you don't have mind dogs. You just have models that represent them because they were there historically.
yeah, it's like
you're not condoning using mind dogs.
It's like
because of what they represent. They didn't like what they represented, or they didn't like how they play in the game.
They didn't like what they represented is like suicide dogs. And I was like,
yeah, I gotcha.
Well, and they said we wouldn't play you if you brought them on the table. And it's like, seriously. Okay.
Well, they're playing. Yeah, okay.
That's fine. All right, I'm not sure exactly what your problem is, but hey, you know.
So these are people who you just met?
Yeah. So it's interesting, the different mentality of individuals. So
yeah, everybody's different. That's true.
Yeah.
That's the trick. With miniature gaming, I think that's the trickiest thing, because to have an enjoyable game, I mean, you can play board games and card games and stuff with people, but with miniature gaming, there's so much, you've got so much latitude with how you measure, how you move things, the amount of terrain on a table, if you're a power list or a very, year specific list. And, so both people have to decide to be on the same page to some extent, or the experience isn't going to be fun for somebody.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are really young. I'd say a lot of them are in their early 20s.
Okay.
So they have a different way of looking at things, I guess.
Yeah.
And they really got offended to me. Was like, we were working on the Japanese, and then they say, well, you guys working on Japanese? And, yeah, we're working on Japs. And they go, oh, that's offensive. I'm like,
Wow.
You should have listened to the guys that were World War II vets that fought in the Pacific. They had a lot more things to say. But
tonight, from my perspective, go ahead. Oh, there
tonight's drink, Redbreast 12.
Redbreast 12. Okay.
That's a Scotch you got there?
No.
What is
this? This is Irish whiskey.
Oh, nice.
I've never heard of it.
Something different. Yeah, I haven't either.
It's high-end Irish whiskey. Oh, yeah, nice.
Cheers.
There's red breast, red spot, green spot, blue spot. Also, same manufacturer. So.
Really?
Blue spot.
Dirt spot. Big smear.
Getting back to what you were just saying though, when it comes to like people not really liking certain models or a certain period because of like what they represent historically, like my perspective on it is like, I understand if there's like a particular era or thing that somebody has an issue with themselves and that they decide not to play it. Like, but I think when you actually like try to insinuate somebody else's character, like make any sort of like tangential relationship to the reason why somebody has a toy model, and what that must mean about them if they're willing to do that. Like, that's where I think it, it kind of, you got to draw the line.
Yeah, it's just a toy that we're throwing on the table.
Like, as an example, like you might have somebody that actually has like strong feelings about the Vietnam War, and that doesn't want to like celebrate through enjoyment of a game, anything to do with it. But if they tell you there's something wrong with you because you do it, then I think that's not right in my mind.
Yeah. No, it's it's like I guess I'm from a different generation, or it's like I just got done building a Waffen SS army and stuff. I really wanted to go. It's like what they represent. People could really say, "Oh, you're evil for having an SS army." It's like, well, they're historical. It's not like I'm espound to their belief system, but it's just models to represent a historical event.
Yeah. And I'm planning on doing German Super Bolt action, and it's just purely, well, one, for me it's a game, and it's I'm not trying to make any big meeting out of it other than doing a simulation of a game, But,
yeah, you look at it, it's like I just showed off my North Koreans with communists. they were pretty vile individuals. It's like as an ideology, but I still built them because they represent a piece of history. So good or bad.
Yeah. So Dan, what's going on with you?
Yeah. Well, since things have slowed down a little bit on the farm, I've been getting, a good hour and a half of hobby stuff in every night. That's been fun.
Oh yeah.
So I've kind of, how I do. You get down I kind of go on one thing and stick with it pretty hard, at least for a while. But I'm been working on my Stalingrad terrain, trying to kind of get that table built up. So that's actually what I'm working on now. Are some buildings, some of those kits that Rusty was seeing last week, the precision model design. Oh, let's see, what are they called? Yeah, precision model designs through Frontline Games.
Okay.
Those resin kits, basically, they come all in parts. You can they're all interchangeable. The kits are interchangeable, so you can mix and match walls and all kinds of stuff. This is the one I'm working on now. Each wall came separate. There was no floor, so I did that from scratch. And then same thing for these factory buildings. All the walls are even separate pieces. It takes multiple pieces to put each wall together. So you can build them however you want. They come with ladders and railings and rubble and all kinds of stuff. It's almost like it's just kind of a scratch build kit type thing. You can build it kind of however you want and combine them all together. So anyway, so that's been a lot of fun because then you kind of get to do the model thing, make them unique, which I like to do, and then because you can customize them, each one can be different too, so you don't have 3 buildings that look the same. So that's been kind of my main thing I've been working on. And then I had been looking at it for more than a year, but since I'm doing the Stalingrad table, Eureka Miniatures does a Barmali fountain. That's that famous children's fountain in Stalingrad. If you've studied about Stalingrad at all, you'll have seen this fountain. It's was it like six or seven children holding hands in the center of the fountain, dancing around an alligator. But it survived the entire battle, the months and months of battle. It was, destroyed or, damaged, but there's lots of black and white pictures of it and even some black and white video of it after and during the war. But they do a nice model of it. The miniatures are metal, and there's little frogs that go around the outside, and then the kids and the alligator are in the center, and then there's water in between that. But the miniatures are all metal, and then the little platform that the kids are on, and then the outside of the fountain are multiple piece MDF that you put together, and it's a really nice looking kit, and it's large enough to be a substantial piece, and it's pretty close in my mind from the pictures to being to the proper scale too. So anyway, that actually just came today. So I got in from work and there it was. I was pretty jazzed, so I ripped into it, and yeah, that's going to be a really nice piece. It's just iconic Stalingrad, so it's nice to have that. And while I've been working on it, I've been YouTube running. There's just lots of documentaries about the Battle of Stalingrad, the lead up to it, the battle itself, talking to survivors from both sides. Very interesting. So that's been really educational and fun to kind of keep you in the mode while you're doing the table. So
have you watched Tik, Tik?
No,
he
haven't
did
heard of it.
He's a documentary channel. He does day by day kind of thing of the battle leading up to it. Pretty in depth on what's going on with the battles leading up to it.
Okay. I can't say I just click, I just do the search and then I just kind of go down. Well, there's one that I know I haven't seen. I don't know who's putting them up or what, but, and then of course a lot of them are repeats. So, you got to scroll past those, but I've learned a lot. It's funny, for whatever reason, the Eastern Front was never a huge interest for me, I suppose, because, being American, since we weren't involved in that, but the more I've learned about it, it is incredibly fascinating, and how important that was, and how important the Battle of Stalingrad was, and how brutal war is, and I mean, it's mind numbing, really.
Yeah,
So it's been
you
fun
look at
expanding my horizons.
How that the battle, everything that led up to the actual kickoff of it, and I found the most amazing thing is that you read the accounts of the Italians that were over there, that were not in Stalingrad, but
Italians.
on the
Romanians were over there too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Romanians, Bulgarians, and
Hungarians and Italians.
Yeah, it's like they're all over there. And the Italians that were there were at Alpine troops on the steppes.
Yes. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's like I've read a book of talking, that was leading up to it, and then they were like how they were going to march. They marched all the way across over there to the location. They marched like 1,000 miles on foot to get there.
Jeez.
Because the Germans wouldn't throw them on a train to get them transportation.
Well, it's amazing too when you look at the logistics of that entire, both what the Soviets were able to do as well as the Germans. But I mean, back then, to supply those armor columns like that, and to get troops moved around, and maintenance on all the equipment as they're moving. In some cases, they were moving hundreds of miles within a couple weeks in enemy territory. It's incredible back then. What a waste of a lot of effort, though. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like soberingly sad.
It looks like Chris had made some comments about your guys' discussion. He was just saying it's iconic in the scene at the enemy at the gates. I think probably the show you were talking about, Tick, is awesome.
The movie.
Mark Felton is also great to watch.
Yeah, I love Mark. Watch his channels.
The Italians had cavalry there. I'm working on some to fight a friend's Russian army.
Oh, no way. Well, they showed the Germans that to move their artillery, they used mostly horses.
Yes.
So you got to be able to feed the horses too and water the horses, and they got to the point where eventually, when they got onto the steppes, I don't know if they wouldn't eat the grass that grows there or it won't sustain them or whatever, but they showed them they were just dying by the wads. And
then the problem was that even the mules even were starving because they were a little more hardy. They did because they could forage more. But the problem is that it's just like our prairie. In the spring, when everything was, you had your wet season, the grass would grow, but eventually it would brown up and die, and you wouldn't get no more nutrition out of it. So it's just like when you cut your hay. You do it when it's still green, so the nutrition is still in it. But if it browns up and dies, there's nothing there.
Yeah, and that's why you try to get it baled as quick as you can, so it lays there long enough to get it dry that it won't mold, but not so long that it loses its nutritional value.
Yeah.
So I'll do my part now that the history lesson is in full swing.
Sorry.
No, it's good. This is the way. This is the Musty Wargamers show. So we do jump around for sure. I don't have a whole lot to. I mean, actually, my gaming update is probably the biggest one, but I do. these guys came out kind of nice. I showed these on my channel. You probably can't really see them very well here, but they're still really colorful enough that I think you can even see them here.
Oh yeah,
the ones you had up on your video.
Yeah. So this is my corn Bestigor that I started painting on the last show. As I kind of mentioned, I was away for a bit, so I didn't really get to paint a whole lot since the last show. I'm hoping that'll change. This is the Pestigor. He's not showing as well because he doesn't have red on him. He has green on the top, so it's getting blanched out a little bit. But yeah, they came out kind of nice. I'm in the middle of starting to do another batch of Beastmen right now, just to fill out some of my command mostly. I actually pulled out. I'm just going crazy. I'm supposed to be moving on to other things, but I can't stop painting Beastmen. I've actually got and it's more for the gaming because I'm doing a lot of Warhammer Fantasy gaming. That
cool.
I have like the Minotaur Warlord for Beastman. I think it's called like a Wargore, or no, that's the name of the regular Beastman, one of the regular Beastman leaders. But he's basically, look at Palmer making me feel old again because of what, my hat or my little, like my glasses here. I don't know. Or is it maybe the Warhammer Fantasy? I don't know. But I have a Minotaur leader that is a model that's to represent a general. And so like basically you can take your Minotaurs as troops. You're allowed to if you have this Minotaur general. And you have some different things, and they're pretty tough. They're pretty bloodthirsty. And so I kind of thought it might be nice to run a Minotaur general at one point. And so I'm painting him. And then I have Kazarak the One-Eye, which is a character. He kind of leads hounds, and he's like a tough character. Named character for the Beastmen to paint up. So I was going to do that. And I've got all this other stuff on the table to paint, like the Howling Banshees and all kinds of different things. But I had a 2,000 point game, not last weekend, the weekend before, and I have another one on Saturday. And it was a really good game. Basically, my opponent had a marginal victory with Orcs and Goblins on my Beastmen, but we played for a solid 5 hours. And to quote my opponent, he said, "I can't remember the last time that I had a 5-hour game that kept my attention to this the whole way." Like the whole 5 hours. Yeah. Like it was a back and forth battle that we were both completely satisfied at the end. Like we were like, this was amazing. And I used my Shaggoth as my general for the first time. So I had this huge Shaggoth that causes terror and was just like, he lasted to the very end. Like he didn't die. He was still on the table at the end. And he was like, basically like, he was tough. Like he was really throwing his weight around, and he causes terror just like a giant, you know, and he looks like a giant. He's about the same height.
Cool.
And so it was a lot of fun. And I have another game on Saturday too. So the Warhammer Fantasy Battle gaming has been excellent. I've been really enjoying it. And I said, aside from that, I'm kind of just, I am kind of really getting into the painting again, even though I haven't done much in the last week. I'm really enjoying it. And so for my drink tonight, I actually wanted a beer tonight, but I actually didn't have any beer. So I actually have a gin and tonic tonight, which I don't typically do on the show, but I actually have a gin and tonic, and that's kind of my drink tonight.
I thought you were drinking a Zima.
Oh, what am I doing here? Exit full screen. Yeah, right. I'm pouring a Zima into a glass with a lime. Exit solo layout. There we go. Oh, when Chris said making me feel old again, he said all the old minis. I was for sure that he was talking about my Optivisor that I'm wearing. Maybe I'm self-conscious.
Yeah, that's just part of your normal.
My normal look.
Yeah, that's just how you look.
Yeah, this is just
well, cool.
Like my superhero hat.
So that Warhammer game, was it just kill points, or did you have objectives or a scenario, or what were you doing?
It was a straight up
just
head-to-head battle. Yeah. So it was
okay,
just based
cool.
on points. Yeah. I like doing scenarios, but because I'm really wanting to learn my army and just I'm really wanting to like I'm finding I'm getting better with the Beastmen each game, and right now I've been leaning towards wanting to do straight up battles even when I'm losing, because I find scenarios are fun, but they also can be a balance, like a good way to balance things out, you know, to create other ways to win other than just straight up dominating your opponent. And right now I do, even as someone that's been like struggling lately with them, I've wanted the straight up battles in order to have that pure test of how they're doing. And but I do find scenarios fun too.
So do you change your list like each time, or are you just tweaking it? Or, I mean, I know you don't have, you know, probably tons of different choices, or maybe you do. I don't know.
I do have a fair bit of different choices. There are some that I've not painted, like the Bestigors. I have a troop of Bestigors, but most of what I own, and I own a fairly comprehensive amount of Beastmen tools. Like I don't have I don't have Chaos Ogres, but I do have Chaos Trolls. But I've got the Dragon Ogres, the Minotaurs, the Shaggoth. I've got like, you know, Bestigors and Gores and Ungors and Hounds, and trying to think here. I have a lot of options. Chariots, you know, like wizards, you know. There's very few things in the book that I outright don't have. I mean, there's some things that I have that I don't have painted, like the name characters. But what I do is I typically, to answer your question, is tweak. I find that I guess, how do I word this? It's not that I'll never make like a drastic radical change, but I find that like just taking some of the core strategies with the core troops and things, and then just changing a lot of my specials and rares, you know, and trying to mix up proportions and how heavy I go with magic and points and things like that, or like a lot of the different strategies that I used. Is that me or you guys? Maybe that's Rusty.
I can hear you fine, Rusty. Mr. Freeze.
Oh, there he goes. He's back.
He moved.
You kind of.
He's back.
You froze out there for a second.
Froze up.
Anyway, even changing those things, I find you can really change the dynamic of the game.
Sure. Do you ever get a hankering to try a different edition, or are you guys just really happy with that for now?
The only thing we're thinking about is the new old world, but we have really no. I mean, like I say, I can't speak to everybody, but for the folks that have vocalized it, like we really don't want to try other editions. We really like 6th.
Yeah. That's cool. Are you thinking of trying the old world with your army?
Yeah. Initially, I was really resistant. I think we're going to continue to watch it, and as a group, we've decided that we'll consider doing it. Main thing is we don't want to stop 6 like completely, so I think what we'll do is we'll consider trying it, but then still play some games of 6 too.
Right.
Because it's easy to...
Maybe you haven't gotten that... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. You were saying?
Okay, my question was... maybe you hadn't gotten that far with that thought process, but just curious, because I've been giving it some thought. What would you guys do for, I mean, I know we maybe need to see what the rules when they come out, but for adapters, you know, because they're changing the base sizes?
Well, and that's the one thing is I think we have to talk about that. Like, I'm not changing my bases, and so like I'm not changing the bases now. Are they? They are supposed to still be 25 millimeter squares.
Yeah,
right?
me neither. 100%.
I thought they were going to what, 30 mil.
Yeah, I just know like the 20 millimeter. 20 millimeters going to 25. That's been confirmed, like human size, and then the cavalry is going bigger, but it's vague on the exact size. And I don't know the ones that are already on 25 what they're doing. They haven't actually announced that, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I think that that could be the thing that we're either going to have to house rule and
you
work
can do
out.
actual base adapt. Each base
Yeah.
or movement trays.
Movement trays
Depends how often you're changing formation and things. If you're better off having. Yeah, although some people, I've been reading a lot of stuff, and some people are like, well, we'll have to see what the rules actually are. But they said that might not be the way to go because, you can march, you can, if you're longer than you are wide, you can, I forget what they call it, a march move or whatever. You move 3 times your normal speed. And so do you just turn your whole thing sideways then? And then the other question you'll have is, it sounded like it isn't base-to-base contact isn't the important thing. It's how many models are in the front ranks. So if that's the case, then it doesn't matter exactly where the corner of each miniature is. I guess we'll just kind of have to see.
Yeah.
Because
which is
we'll
the
have to
better
have either a
solution.
fix. There'll have to be some fix where I don't have to rebase my models otherwise. Because I won't even I have as you guys know, I have a high elf army that's in the wings, like an old hammer army, and I can tell you that I am not putting that on weird and wonky new age bases. They're either going to be ready for 6th, or they're not going to be ready for that thing at all. And so I guess I'm singing a different tune right now, but I liked what I saw, but I'm not doing that to my old models, and I'm not even painting my old models that I've been painted yet and putting them on those bases.
Yeah, me neither. I'm sticking with because then I know I can play the older editions, and in some way, shape, or form, I can adapt mine to the old world if I choose to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And some people are all excited because, but on the bigger bases, they rank up so much better because that was such a pain. And I know on some models it was, but I've seen some people are, already rebasing the other way. And I don't know, some of them to my mind's eye, they look too spaced out. So, I guess it's just whatever you like the visual of, but
you think about the dwarves.
I like them all tight packed in. That's what I like.
I just think about the dwarven armies were small to begin with, and you stick them on a larger base, it just looks wonky.
Yeah.
But I guess until that actually, it's all speculation really at this point, other than they did say that the human size 20 millimeters are going to 25s. But and then cavalry would be bigger, but they didn't really say. So, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. But then again, if your group has all old army stuff anyway, what does it really matter if you're still playing with the old bases?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the key though. What's your group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my one reason that I would even consider really. Yeah, go ahead, Palmer.
Well, are we all in the same boat, or is it a mixture? That's what it's going to come down to, the people in your gaming group, and then how feasible is there anything that's a deal breaker in the rules themselves? I don't know. I was excited with what I saw, but now I'm not so much after talking to you. I'm not as excited now after talking to you. Because
I'm a bad influence. Why? What did I say?
Well, no, just now, I'm not going to change my bases. And so, if that becomes, I didn't think about that, I haven't been following it closely enough, obviously. I've been reading the rules they've been releasing, but what I saw so far didn't mention that of their 3 articles that they've put out. I didn't read the shooting one yet. I read the movement.
That was one of the early announcements.
Yeah.
Movement and magic, and then missile fire they covered. But the base sizes, they talked about that months ago.
Yeah, I've heard stuff. I just probably at a time when I wasn't interested.
Problem. I don't have a group. Right. It was back when you said you weren't interested, yeah. But for me, I don't really have a group, so the only reason I would be tempted by it at all anyway would be if then, like down in Omaha, which is my closest place, if then you could, meet up with some people down there to play.
Chris says
I
there's
would even
somebody
do that,
doing
though. So
adapters
that's
already.
really my only incentive.
There's somebody doing
Oh yeah, there's
STL
people doing
adapters.
Adapters, base trays, but that's but that's what I'm wondering. Would you do the base adapters or the movement tray adapter? That's the key, because people are starting to already talk about how they would do it.
I think I'm gonna have to know more to really know.
It's hard to know until we see the rules.
Yeah.
I think just doing the movement trays would be the way to go. It'd be the easiest solution.
Be the easiest, but it's unclear if you're going to be changing formation a lot. If you're going to need to, then you need 53 movement trays, or do you just, that's the thing we'll have to see.
Yeah, I know this is like a stupid suggestion, but given everything, and the fact that they know that there's going to be a lot of people that want to use the old models, GW should lead the charge on that and like come up with these like adapters.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that though, but
I know.
Not when you can just rip your model off and just buy a new base. Rip your model off.
Well,
their solution would be just buy our new miniatures.
Yeah.
Chris says, "Way to go, Dan." I think that's
what I'm afraid they're gonna. Even though they've said, "Oh yeah."
They're always going to decide on buy new new miniatures.
That's
taking my zeal away from the game. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Shut him down. That's like telling you there's no Santa Claus. Sorry. Oh, maybe you didn't know.
What? There's no Santa Claus. What are you talking about? She's talking about Wills.
Yeah. I'm interested, but I'm not like I have no plans. I probably will pick up the rules regardless, and I'm not going to say. I mean, that's not much of an investment. At least check out what it is, and then potentially, which I don't know. Rusty and I were talking about this a week or two ago about what the pricing will be. If some of their Bretonian stuff, excuse me, is priced reasonably. I have just a couple 6th edition models, but there's some that at the time when they came out, I didn't like them at all. I liked the 5th so much better, but there's some I would pick up, but I'm afraid there's probably be like crazy sticker shock for some, 20-year-old plastic kits. I'll be like, I can buy metal miniatures cheaper than that I like just as well or better. So I'm not sure what I'll do there, but
yeah,
it's no big deal.
I almost always go for the metal first if I can.
Same.
Yeah, there's something to be said about a single monopose. If I don't have to assemble them, it's just a monopose for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I got to glue them together, those 24 Perry AWI, and they went together great, and they look great. I've got them. I don't remember if I had that for the last show. I got them all glued, 24 glued together. I always glue the sand and aggregate on the bases and then prime them so they're ready to start painting. Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
I enjoy the process fine, and I like the, but it's just I was thinking, man, I don't know how many because I try to be fussy. I try to get the mold lines off, and I try to make sure they aren't in an awkward position. I'm not just slapping them together and making sure they rank up nice as I put each one together. And I mean, it's a little bit anal, I know, but gosh, after I got done, I'm like, and now I'm just to the point where I would be if I'd bought metal miniatures. All that time I spent doing that. So, but they're cool, and I like it fine too. But it did cross my mind. Yeah.
Now you know why I gave them to you.
Thanks, man. It just cost me about 2 hours of my life.
That's right.
I know. That's what I was
sucking the life out of me.
No, they're really cool. I'm looking at them right now. They're gorgeous. So I'm excited.
They're nice looking miniatures.
That's what I'll paint when
I
need a break from the Stalingrad.
I feel the same way about the plastic miniatures too. Like, as much as I'm looking forward to doing the bolt action plastic miniatures, I'm like also thinking that way too. Like, you know, I'm not totally interested in all the assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of assembly lately.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because a lot of them, you really crank them out, Rusty.
Yeah.
The assembling or the...
And a lot of times there's not a whole lot of pose options. They're easier to...
No.
The plastic kits, you'd think, well, you can assemble them however you want. Well,
not really.
Really, you can't, unless you start cutting them up. Usually that kind of has to be posed that way, the way the arms are. They can't go on this, it's not a box of just complete Legos where you could build whatever you want. That's not quite true.
I've always felt the plastic posing, like, it never looks as natural, and like a metal model, like that's individually sculpted as a single cast, has the most potential, or like a, like you could argue like a resin 3D, print where they're making and sculpting it as one single thing. But like, as long as it's like an individual sculpt, it always, in my mind, has more potential to look more natural.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like the plastic ones, a lot of times, you can use these arms or these arms, but it's like really the one set of arms fits that properly. The way the legs are positioned, it looks natural, like you're saying. And so sometimes I'm thinking, so I'm gluing them together, but they're kind of making you jump through the hoop anyway. You think you got all these unlimited possibilities, and you can if you want to start, cutting them and stuff, but it's not as much as you think.
Yeah, right. We just got done.
I think. I don't know.
Assembling, I think, was it 4 boxes of Japanese. We just finished them up, the last of them, Tuesday night, and there's really not much options other than the body pose is all set. Each screw you got 6 different poses, and there's not a lot of differences in between them. Because they all carrying about the same rifle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and they're all kind of in that hunched forward aggressive pose. It's all kind of the same.
Yeah, we got that same bayonet charge look. And we just started doing the American.
But they are, they're more affordable than metal.
Yeah. Well, you get for, I think it's, now it's about $32. You get 30 miniatures, I think it is now. Depending on where you go. Up to 40, depending on.
Yeah. Right.
And we just started putting together the American Airborne guys Tuesday night, and that was kind of an interesting little process too. And there's not much. Yeah, there's a newer set. There's not much difference though in the kits between the models.
I'm not sure if you guys know.
Between each model within the kit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but Chris is actually coming out with a game, Walkabout Games.
Yeah.
And he's going to come on the show in the new year to chat about the book. Like, when they do a release, which is really cool. He just made a comment about it. And so that'll be really cool.
I didn't know he was.
Yep. It's like a modern...
It's
an Imagination Wars modern warfare game is the way I would describe it from what he showed me.
No way.
Yeah.
Way.
Really cool.
I I like the imaginations things. Those are cool.
And then he says he loves Perry Minis for building. And then looking forward to the new Perry's Napoleonic poles. I'm not really in tune with the Napoleonic stuff. I didn't know they were coming out with Polish Napoleonics. New ones.
Just in time for the movie.
Yeah.
I can't believe how they crank stuff out. Yeah.
I have yet to take a gander at the Warlord Games. They just brought the new French plastics out.
Oh, yeah. People are excited about them. I haven't really looked them over. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind building a French army sometime.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have particular interest in that, but never say never.
Well, from a historical aspect of it, that's where my interest lies.
If you guys like painting human heads, play Beastmen, because out of the 5, 6, 7, 8
They're
guys,
everywhere.
Almost all of them have a human head hanging from their belt.
Yeah.
No way.
In one case, it's a Dorped. It's one of the coolest ones, actually. They almost all do. Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of them do. Some of them have 2 heads.
They always say 2 heads are better than 1.
Yeah. Careful so you don't lose your head.
Especially in the stew pot.
Yeah. So, do you have a lot of Beastmen that you could paint yet, Palmer? Like tons, or are you kind of actually whittling through them?
I've whittled through a lot of them. I still have, although I have a unit of 20 Vestigors painted, I still have another 30 that I can paint for even bigger games. I can play 2,000 point games now, but I can have a unit of 50 Vestigors, which all metal, which is cool. That's almost like my biggest block, most impressive sized unit. It's huge. 8th edition saw people do blocks of 50 for Vestigors because they were considered really good, and that's one of the reasons why I collected that many. But
okay,
yeah, I can do a huge block of Vestigors, but honestly, I have my collection of Beastmen now consists to be painted still. Primarily consists of finishing those Vestigors, should I choose to do so. Doing the I have Centigors, like a unit of 10 of them, which is definitely a unit I would like to do. I have some name characters, and then beyond that, I still have a lot of old school Beast Gores of the older varieties. 15 more Bob Ollies to join the Nurgle ones I have. They're all Tzeentch Bob Ollies. And then I have a whole bunch of Realm of Chaos early ones to do that. And those are really I want to do the 15 Bob Ollies next, with the Xanagors at a certain point. But after that, all my other old metal Beastmen are all pleasure projects to add to it. They're not a rush for gaming or anything. You know what I mean? They're all just, because I love the Beastmen. I love the fact that I'll have more to paint in the future, that I'm not done, that I just have more, because I just like them.
Right. That's good.
And I'm dipping into Chaos now, Mortal and Demons. So it's going to take a little longer to finish them, but I did a video a few years ago of my entire collection that I collected, just all metal on the table. And
I remember that video. That was impressive.
Yeah. And I've really whittled through most of it, I've done a lot, so I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, you have.
taken me forever, and I've been slow.
Yeah, but you're enjoying the process, and
yeah, it's kind of like the French Indian War stuff. And I still, once I did finish the World War II, like once I actually get the World War II bug out of my system for a while, I'll go back to French Indian War. I still have a lot. I have a ton of French Indian War to paint. I have more French Indian War to paint than I own. Like painted, is what I mean. I guess.
Okay, I was like
2 to 1.
I have more than what I actually have. Believe it or not. No.
I got more to paint than I own.
That reminds me of that stupid comment in Dodgeball with Ben Stiller. You made me bleed my own blood.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
I have more than I actually own. What, did you steal it?
That's what I'm like. Is it on lease? Lease?
No, so I have more still of French Indian War to paint than I have painted. Because I have Grenadiers to do for the French and the English. I still have more natives that I can paint. I still have like villagers, like lots of villagers I can paint. I still have I have militiamen, not militiamen. They're like, I have provincials is the word I'm looking for that I still have to paint. Oh, it looks like Rusty's showing something here. Distracting.
Oh.
U.S. Airborne. Awesome.
U.S. Airborne. There they are.
I like the
Warriors.
I like the Warlord Airborne.
Well, since I just put a wash in everything I'm painting, I decided I want to do some assembly now.
This is it. Well, why don't we get to one of our topics tonight? And I was thinking, actually, Chris just had a couple things to say here before we do that. First book is historical, 2004 Iraq,
Fallujah.
It's a series of books on different battles or campaigns. Palmer, I sent you a pic of a cover of a book. It might change. Okay. I can put this up. I'll show you guys the cover of Chris's book.
Cover.
Yeah. So
there's all kinds of pictures he's been posting up that they're going to be like images that are going to be inside, I imagine.
Somehow I missed that. Of course, I've been working pretty hard the last couple months.
I'm going to try to
do the technology.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do the technology here. Let's see if I can get to. Can you guys see that?
No, it's blank at the moment.
No, it's blank. We're all on the side and the rest is blank. Oh, there now I see your computer screen. Now I see Palmer.
That, huh? Okay.
I just see you.
That's so weird. I guess I can't pick up my picture viewer. It won't just show like what a picture I'm looking at on my screen. Let me try this again. What I need to do is add it to the stage.
There we can see your computer screen.
Okay.
Into infinity and beyond.
And
not now, huh? You can't see
I just see your
anything
computer
different?
screen. Like you're sharing your screen.
Doing a share screen.
You can see your mouse moving around.
It says present slides. Your computer. Let me see. Upload file. There we go. This might work. Let's try this. Yeah, no, won't do that either. I don't know. Sorry, Chris. I can't. I'm not having trouble showing it here with StreamYard and the way it's. Yeah, it wants to mainly show things that are on my web browser. I think there'd be a way, but
It probably is.
yeah, it probably is. I've done it in the past where I shared a screen, but I think it was always looking at something that
just on your browser. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just sharing stuff last time. But...
So this says entire
screen. You're just sharing one more your browser, though.
I'm going to try sharing the entire screen and see if that works. All right. Now, can you see it now?
It's buffering. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, move to contact.
Okay, cool.
There we go. I was trying to do that.
That's basically they give you 3 choices. You could share your screen, you could share your window, or you can choose basically like come on the browsers or something. But yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's cool. What scale is it? Like just a squad, real small man, or is it platoon level or what? I wonder.
Chris said he sent to Rusty so he can see as well. Well, we all did see it. So while we're chatting about this, I'll just mention
shared it.
So we had a couple topics tonight, and one of them I thought was slightly crunchier than the other, and I thought maybe we'd start with that one, and that is, and I think Rusty could maybe start with this because I think it was his idea, and I think he's got some more personal recent experience on it, and it's just, how does a gaming group implode in your experience, or how can like big problems happen in a gaming group, even up to having it disband?
How can your group implode in 90 different ways? Well, it's like, well, it all comes down to the other half of the topic too, which is how to keep your group happy too. You know.
Well, it was, what is a good day of gaming?
Yeah,
that was the other one, which I think could be a little bit different, but I know it's not unrelated because having a good day of gaming, bad day of gaming can make enough of them can make your gaming group implode.
Yeah, kind of make you not want to do that anymore.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to what can make a gaming group implode is just not willing to be flexible enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest ones. Because you can end up with somebody that is, once you always get somebody that what really blew up our group was you had one individual that did not want to be flexible or in what we played, which was a major problem.
Right. Remember you mentioned that.
The individual's always trying to dictate. You know, it's like, there you go. That's the word right there. Mel just said it in a heartbeat. There is ego. A certain individual will not listen to others, always wanting you to do it their way. It's like, well, what do you guys want to play? We're going to play this. It's like they ask what you want to play, and then it's like, okay, and we're going to play this anyway. What they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just gets tiresome. Or the other one was expecting everybody to always travel to their location.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sure.
Rusty, you still there? He seems like he froze.
Looks like he's
maybe he's testing us. He's testing
us.
Or probably really upset. He might be shedding a tear right there.
He probably is soul crushing when those things happen, I suppose.
I think this is kind of hurting him so much that he's just freezing for a moment and shedding a tear.
Now he's back.
I
really bummed him out.
I took my toys and walked away.
You did.
I just can't talk about it anymore.
But yeah, it's like Mel, and his brother live about, I'd say almost, well, they live about 35, 40 minutes from me, and his other individual lives about 45 minutes farther away from me. So you're talking almost an hour and a half where they have to go.
That's a lot.
And
that's a lot.
And to expect everybody to constantly travel to the other location, that gets tiresome.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, hey, let's just go rotate between locations. One time we'll go to your house, next time we'll go to your house, or just in the case of, let's say, how about we just go to the game shop and play there? But no, we can't go to the game shop and play because there's people there, and you didn't want to be around people. So, let's call it being extremely inflexible.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what do you think? Like, I know that a lot of I know you've had times where you've played more at times with others and at times less because of your location. But like, do you have opinions on this from your experience?
Well, not so much for miniature gaming because, like you said, I don't have anybody here close that actually does that. So basically, for me, it's Rusty and then Mark that lives close to me, and Bug Eater. That's been the extent of my miniature game, which is great.
Now his name's Bug Eater. Is his name? His name is Bug Eater.
Mister
Sir Bug Eater.
No, Mr. Bug Eater. Jeez, Palmer, get it straight. That's fine. Yeah, exactly. But the one thing I will that would be some sort of similar-ish is I do have siblings that we board game with. And we do travel to each other's houses, and we all have certain games that each of us is particularly fond of. We all enjoy each other's games, but you kind of have your favorite. But of course, it's siblings, so that's a lot. Well, you could say harder or easier to get along, but for us, we get along just fine, and we just trade. It's like, okay, it's your week to pick what we play, and and you pick something that the other person or people are going to enjoy, but it's something they you want to do it, and you're going to have it. You're going to have the rules figured out. You're going to have it set up, and usually you host it at your house then. And then sometimes there will, it'll be a game that takes several sessions, or we'll play it again. So, it might be a few weeks in a row. In the wintertime is when I tend to do my board gaming, and we get together each week. But, so because those are the things that would be a problem. It's like, well, the person only wants to play the one game, or you always got to come to my house because that's just easier. But we don't really have that problem. And, in most social experiences, in my opinion, it's dependent upon mutual deciding you're going to have a good time, right?
Yeah.
It's not about you. You both, like I kind of said with miniature gaming, I always feel like miniature gaming in particular is like, it's like a social contract. You're going to, we need to, what are your expectations? Maybe somebody's a super competitive player and that's how they like to play. Well, and that's fine, but we got to meet somewhere in the middle. And the games that are really enjoyable is when you can play somebody that's on the same page as you. You know, whether it's super narrative is what they like, or they're super historical is what they like, or they're super, you know, competitive, you know, points. All those can be fun, but if you're on a different page from the other person, then it's just not going to be fun. At least for me, it's not. You have to decide that you're going to make it fun for each other, because you can make it miserable for each other, and there's no point in that. And then you're not, you know, you're not going to use your time to get together with those people, because, you know, everybody's got limited time. I mean, even as much as I enjoy getting together with Rusty, it's been a long time, and Mark too, because his life has changed. So I mean, I game very little anymore, which is okay. And I know it ebbs and flows. At some point that'll change because of everybody's life situations change. But so I think that's the biggest thing, is it needs to be a mutual agreement that, you know, sometimes it's kind of your day. We're going to do it how you want to do it. But sometimes it's my turn, right? You know, so otherwise I don't have time to mess with people that just want to, you know, it's a hobby and it's what I do for fun. If it's not fun, you know, I got plenty of things I can do all day that are not fun. So why do that, you know? And that would cause it to fall apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris says over-competitive gamer is one of the things that can ruin the gaming group.
Yeah, and a sore loser is also the same way. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting angry at everything.
Yeah, it's just a game, you know. It's fine.
You know, like one interesting question. You know, like I think there are different types of gaming groups too. And what I mean by that is, coming from, like, we have a lot of gaming places in our city, and I actually sent Rusty the documentary. It was played at like Gen Con, I think, or something like that. But there's a documentary called The Local Wargaming Store, I think is what it's called, and it's based on the Sentry Box, which is in Calgary, Alberta. It's among one of the largest game stores in the world, and that's where I go to buy my stuff, and that's where I'm usually playing in friends' basements, but when I do go to play anywhere, that's where I would go. And
okay.
And in these kind of places, you have gaming groups, as Rusty has described, that sound to me like a group of friends that have known each other for a long time, and they game as a group to game, but they change games, and a lot of it is historically perhaps about the group of people. You know what I mean? Like coming together. Yeah. What it sounds like. And I've seen that here. Right. There's a gentleman that I know that has invited me to a group like that, who he has a group of friends that he looks like he, from his description, has played with for at least a decade, if not longer. And they all game on the same night, and they change games every week. And it's more about playing together, is what it seems like, you know, as a group of friends.
So, social aspect, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Most of the groups that I've gamed with historically were more the type of people that all came to the same place to play the same game, many of which may know each other through the store, but many may not, and they've all kind of come together with a common interest to play that game. And those kind of gaming groups, I don't think the debate is as much which game to play, because it's a big store and they've all kind of come for the same reason. And if people stop playing the game, then the group no longer exists. And so I think, like what Rusty was saying about flexibility. If you're coming together to be together with other people, then that, you know, and that's the main goal, then you have to be somewhat flexible to play different things and things that you have to, like, try to enjoy the experience from the perspective of being with others, not just to play the things you want to play.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It's probably all Mr. Obvious stuff, but I think we've had discussions in the past on this channel about how is one of the threats to gaming too many games, and in the way it can you actually sustainably play miniature gaming where you're buying at the cost point and the time point that you can only get 2 games in before everybody wants to switch to something else. How sustainable is that? It's really tough because a lot of us that are Musty Wargamers have have come from a time when all we played was D&D or all we played was Warhammer, and like that's all we did forever. Like, you know, until the next edition came out, you know, or the next, you know, whatever. And we fully understand being completely consumed with one thing with a close group of friends, and there not being this discussion. Like, even though there was Star Frontiers, nobody ever said to me, let's stop playing D&D because we have to play Star Frontiers. Like, we always still play D&D. It's not that we couldn't play something else, but it was never a matter of dropping it completely. And I think that
that is a challenge nowadays, is the amount of choices for such a niche hobby. To have that many choices and people on so many different boats, it is hard to. When we had less choices, or you're not aware of the other choices because of, you know, pre-internet. So you just kind of, that's the way we were too as kids. We had our games that we just played them all the time, and it was not even a debate on what we're gonna do, you know.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck in. Well, we sort of did the same thing with our group, was that we'd be on a certain game and we'd play it for a long period of time before we moved on to something else. And then it's like, okay, let's rotate and play. All right, let's play this game for a while, and then we'll go back to this other one. It's like this week we'll play this one, and next week we'll go back to this one. So we'd have, you know, kind of this locked into a certain way, because then you get used to playing a certain game. You get pretty good at it.
That's true. Yeah, and you know the rules. You don't have to look stuff up all the time.
One of my gaming buddies and I
night.
Do that. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I tend to game in the evenings and at night, and boy, it's funny, you know, by 10 o'clock, you know, you're just kind of like, if it's a game that requires, and again, I'm talking about board games because that's what I do more routinely, but some of them, you know, are pretty mental, and you're just like starting to lock up, you know. So it's, but if that's why a lot of times we'll play the same game for weeks in a row, because then you get where you really, you know, the rules, you're not looking stuff up. It's pretty second nature.
We kind of like to play 5 games. We usually play 3 to 5 games when we're rotating games, just because it usually takes a game at least to get back into it again. And then if it's a game we've played in the past, and then we'll play it a couple times. If we really like it, we'll probably play like 5 games, and then go to something else. But, you know, like what I was going to say is, like, maybe to some degree, lack of focus or lack of purpose. And I realize, like, for a fun hobby group where you're just getting together, like, with your friends on the weekend, maybe you don't need a purpose, like, in a like business sense, or like mission value, you know, whatever mission, things like that. But maybe having like too many games and not really a focus, and having too many people with opinions and not enough common ground and agreement on how the group is going to run can be a problem. Because I've seen groups where the purpose of the group is to play historical skirmish games. And so right off the bat, if somebody's jumping in there to say, do I get to bring my elves, you know, or, you know, like, if there's like any confusion, then it wasn't communicated clearly what the group's about, you know. But it's perfectly acceptable to start playing one skirmish game that's a historical game, like maybe Test of Honor, and then switch to bolt action. You know, maybe like if it's expected right up front that these are the kind of games that are going to be played.
Right.
Maybe a focus or like a common agreement that this is what we want to do can help. Otherwise, if it's too all over the place and nobody really has a like if people are upset, like if they're not just interested in just kind of going with it and they want more of that, then that could be a problem. I don't know.
So do you feel fortunate, Palmer, that you have the group that you have, or you have other choices? Like, oh, if that group didn't work, there's other. Cause see, I'm just that's foreign to me. I mean, like, I don't have like like what you're talking about, like where you go to the gaming store, or like people within your town that you get to. You know, I got my siblings on board games, but so or you just feel like you just kind of lucked out, or it matches what your desires are now, or are there other groups you could jump in on?
Well, that's a complicated answer. And the reason I say that is because it's like yes, no, and maybe because of it's yes, I feel extremely fortunate that I found sort of the close group of friends that I play certain games with at their houses. Like, and they play like sometimes at my house and stuff. And that I have like friends that I enjoy being around just to be around them. Like that to me, because I had a time when I got into wargaming, when I first got into 40K again in 2012, I felt in 2012 old, like coming back to it. And now we're in 2023. But I felt that when I was coming down to play Warhammer, that I was an old guy already in 2012, and I didn't know anybody. And I felt kind of weird. Like I felt weird, like walking in, and I had like a lot of rambunctious younger people that were having fun, but just acting a lot younger than me. And I didn't really know how to break in to like get games with folks. Because I was interested. I wanted to paint. I was interested in playing, and I really struggled with that when I was first getting back into it. And then I did meet some folks, and I was able to start playing that were closer to my age, and it just worked out that way. Like I don't mind playing with folks that are younger than me, but it's just sometimes hard when like they're all like it's just a group that you don't feel like you belong to just walk into a store and just jump into it. It's just kind of difficult. And so I feel really great about having those friends. I don't probably appreciate enough the ability to play games in the city of. I have so much opportunity to play games like Star Wars Armada. Like somebody was telling me about a group that I could join and inviting me to it. And then I know there's a bolt action group, which I'm planning on looking out and joining and going down and playing some games with. There are people that play just about everything that I like to play in this city. I have so much opportunity, and for the longest time recently, in the last couple of years, I've been so busy with work that I couldn't imagine playing. I didn't have any more time than just to play with the handful of friends that I play games with now. And so I've never pursued any of those opportunities to play games. My life has changed recently in that I have more time than I have in the last few years in building a business and like doing some different things. And now I'm actually looking at trying to explore a couple of those opportunities. And so I do appreciate that I can do it. I just don't feel like I really deliver on that through action. Like I don't go down and do that. Like, I mainly play just with my close handful of friends.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect example. None of my friends want to play bolt action. Like none of my close group want to play bolt action. And so I'm doing this outside of that group, and I'm going out to play against folks at the Sentry Box and stuff like that is my plan.
Right. That's cool.
But I don't give them a hard time about it. Like my friends, right? Like if they don't want to do that, like we have like some social contracts in that our greater group is sort of committed to play Warhammer Fantasy 6th. And so none of us has basically said that we're not going to play it. Like we all like it and want to play. But we're not all like necessarily saying we'll play everything that everybody else wants to play. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just not everybody has the time.
Yeah.
You know, to invest in something new just because somebody else wants to do it.
And that's can be an issue too.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with miniature gaming. There is a commitment.
Like I have a friend that is really interested in the new Legion Imperialis, like the new epic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
And I, as much as I think it's cool, like I have the old epic, and I don't really feel like I got enough games out of that since investing it and starting to play again. And there's only so many new things I'm going to jump into. Like if I'm going to jump into the old world,
right?
You know, likely not going to jump into anything else from Games Workshop. Chris says, I have to go hours south of me to historical game. Mel says, Rusty and I have other groups we jump in with, but we have to be ready to play FOM. What?
Fistful of Miniatures, which...
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a
right now.
Beer and pretzel game.
Right now, our area is mostly card games and 40K. Bolt action is picking up, though. So that's an actual game. It's called Fistful of Miniatures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fistful of Toes, Fistful of Miniatures. Yeah, it's been around forever and a day. It's basically you just throw dice.
That's all I've heard of.
So yeah, it's one of those game systems that you put your bunch of miniatures on the table and you roll a bunch of dice and pull all your miniatures
Pretty
off.
Casual.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a lot of strategy then.
No.
Well, and in some ways, like I have aspects to my gaming that I interpret to be kind of like yours, Dan. And what I mean by that, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but like sharp practice, and to some degree Musket and Tomahawks, I do find, like one of my friends wants to start playing that again. I do find there are more people for some reason that want to play that, but like sharp practice is a game that I love too, and I love the French Indian War period. And to get anybody to play it, I typically have to provide both sides. But I do it, and I consider it as part of my hobby, and I will even solo play it because I really like it.
Yep.
But there isn't a group though. Like there's no group for me to play, really. And I do actually pull the miniatures out and play it on the table solo, and I really like enjoy what happens. And I still, and I consider myself like a player of it because even with those like that lack of other people to play against, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a true experience. Yeah.
And you're kind of like that.
Well,
too,
I've gotten
right?
to where I'm painting both sides. Yep. Oh, definitely. And I've gotten to where, like on my American War of Independence, I'm painting both sides. Partly just because, I do envision playing it solo. I enjoy solo experiences like that, whether it's, board games or miniature gaming. And plus I do know I've got siblings that live around here close. And if I had both sides painted, and as their lives are starting to transition to the next stage as well, that I know they'd be they're all into history and gaming and just not miniature gaming. But if I had both armies painted up and had the terrain and stuff, they'd probably come and play quite a bit, So
yeah.
So I'm motivated, in that sense to do that. Plus, I just enjoy the painting collecting side of it anyway. So I don't mind, really what becomes of it after that.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing too, is which can really hurt a group is if you have someone. It's like there's been many times where I put together both sides of an army, painted them up, and had them all ready to rock. And then you ask somebody that was no longer in the group, and it's like, hey, you said you wanted to play this and try it out. I got the armies and everything painted up, and you ask him if he wanted to play, and he just like, no, I'm not interested anymore. Don't bother me with it. And it's like, I just put all the effort.
Even if you have both sides painted, they won't do it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being that. I mean, why a couple hours of your life and somebody's done all the work? Why wouldn't you just give it a go? I mean, I'd play anything.
The problem is the individual, anything beyond a beer and pretzel game that had any type of complexity to it, he look at it and go, "Oh, that's too tough. I don't want to deal with that." And Mel and I we like our crunchy games too. We have no problem sitting down and playing a crunchy rule set.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes it hard for.
Wow.
Oh, froze up a little bit there.
You're having trouble getting that last word out.
Yeah. He's really choosing his words carefully.
Thinking long and hard.
Yeah. Doesn't just want to blurt stuff out. You got to think about it.
Yeah, you gotta take a lot of time on that last word.
Yeah, just sit there. The crazy thing is, I can hear every word that's being said.
I hope so.
It's like I can see what's going on, and you guys say I'm freezing, and I'm like, okay.
He just stops. Okay, whatever.
All of a sudden, it gets quiet when he's talking. I look up. Yep, he's frozen. Just for a few seconds, or 10.
But at least when we do that, you know something's going on.
Yeah.
We kid because we care, Rusty.
Oh, that's the way it is. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this, because some people don't enjoy learning a ton of games.
Yeah.
And I'd actually have to say that I'm one of them. I have friends that truly buy rule books just to read them. And I know a lot of people here likely do that, like to read about games, new ways to play games and stuff. I'd like to settle into a game. And to be quite honest, I view the investment as a bit tiring if I'm not ready to get it to a new rule set. And Rusty, you know a lot of rule sets, and I think you really like to learn a lot in games, even if you end up not playing it necessarily right away. And then what I'm wondering is, can there be a mismatch within the group of people like that too? Or you know what? I took some time out today to come down to play something, and this is what we typically play, and I'm ready to play that. But having to prepare and understand this just even for the day, it's just kind of not enjoyable for me. And now you might argue that's maybe not, if you're getting to play with friends and stuff, maybe you're not appreciating, enough, they paint to both sides. And I'm not saying that that's not true, but are there folks that were taking it personally, that they are not making an effort, but really what it comes down to is they're truly just not enjoying themselves as much if they have to jump from game to game?
Yeah. Putting thought into something is stressful for certain individuals. And my problem is trying to figure out a new game system is actually trying to read it and understanding it. Mm-hmm. That can be a bit tiresome too.
Mm-hmm. When I'm ready to play a game, if I'm interested in the miniatures, I'm interested in the period. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say I kind of, which we kind of do even in our board games, but I kind of like to, even the way I do my modeling projects and hobby projects, I like to kind of get on one thing and kind of ride that ride for a while, partly because we're all busy and stuff, and when you get some hobby time, it's usually for me it's in the evening or kind of rushed on the weekend or something, but it's nice to where it's already in your head and you're not getting it confused with this other rule set. And I like to kind of explore it. It's like, okay, we had that game that week, and then maybe in a couple weeks or next week or another month, we play that game again. So you're kind of, you're experiencing the rules. You're starting to understand the nuances and the depth of it. And I enjoy that. Because even like Mark and I we went through a phase, we did muskets and tomahawks for a couple 3 months, and that was fun. We were all into. That's what we were painting. We were looking at new things to try, and we were looking at terrain, and and it just really immersing into that system and that game and that experience and that time period. And then we tend to kind of stay on one thing, but we always do end up kind of coming back to bolt action. But but I find that keeps it simple. I have tons of rules, and I like to read through them, but not I'm not familiar enough with any of them that I collect to just play, where, oh yeah, I could throw that on the table here next week. But like if somebody, said, hey, we're getting into that game, or somebody else had an interest, it's like, oh yeah, I could pull that out. Like Rusty and I've talked about doing burros and badgers or something. It's like, oh yeah, no time at all, I could be up and running on that. But I like to really immerse in one game and really play it.
I'm the same way. We're go in depth into a game system, and it's like it through and through, and you don't even have to think about when you're playing it.
I love that.
And it's like, for me, that used to be,
and then you can get into the more nuanced
nuances of it. Yeah, where you get really good at it.
Yeah, because you're not just scratching. Yeah, you're not just scratching the surface. You're really getting into the deeper parts of it, and really some of the stuff that you thought, oh, this isn't really that complicated. There's not that many decisions, but then you start looking at it different ways, and it's like, oh my gosh, that really makes it more interesting, because then if I do it this way, then they have to figure out how to react to that, and it's just, a lot of the rule systems, there's a lot more there than what you get if you just played it a couple times.
Exactly. And we had our game systems when I think of our group before it imploded. We used to play a lot of dystopian wars constantly, and I got really, really good at it. And so it's like I figured out the nuances and tactics and everything to make the game really work. Yeah. And it's like, and pretty soon you're just like, you're just, it's like you're on autopilot. You're not even thinking anymore. You're just doing it like a ship captain.
Because the basic, because all the different structures of the game, you're understanding all that. It's the fundamentals, and you're looking up charts. You got a comprehension of that, so then you can start taking your strategy and tactics and gameplay to the next level. And then we started throwing in some house rules when Mark and I play, and coming up with some things that make the game more enjoyable for the two of us. And on bolt action in particular, I'm talking about now, but we did that with muskets and tomahawks as well.
Yeah, it's the same way. It was like,
that's fun for me.
BattleTech is another one. It's like I don't even think about that.
Yeah,
playing it for so long that I was just talking with somebody the other night about it, and they would say, "Oh, it's like that classic BattleTech is just too hard. There's just too many things to think about." And I was like, "Not really, but I've been playing it for so long, I don't even think about it."
Rusty, when you kind of grew with the
system, even
when you close your eyes, it's like you're actually there.
Exactly.
Like with those mechs, it's like you hear the dice roll, but really you're hearing the robots stomp.
I'm hearing the gunfire. It's like throwing the dice. I hear the gunfire.
You can see those little vehicles coming through the trees and the distance.
That's the level I'm at. But yeah. But there's other game systems is that I played over the years. We started playing on my channel. You seen where I was doing all the Gaslands. I was not sure if I wanted to play it, but once we started playing, I said, "Oh, I like this game. This is really good." And then once I figured out the nuances of it, really, and it's like I was on autopilot on that game system too.
Those were some of my absolute favorite battle reports that you've done.
Yeah,
I used to really like the Gaslands watching this.
Mr. Announcer guys coming along.
Yeah, as a racer.
I always thought it was fun. It was fun.
And I enjoyed. It's like I literally would write a script to do those, and it's like when you see those reports, there was amount of an actual 20-minute report. It probably took me 3 hours to put together. And it's like people didn't appreciate it. It's like then the one guy that's no longer in our group, he was like, "Wow, why don't you do this? Why don't you say that?" And I was like, "Dude, you make the damn report."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting point you make. Sometimes in order to do bat reps, it requires the people you game with to be like okay to do that. Like, because like they are taking time. Like it takes more time to shoot a bat rep than it does just to play a game. And so that's a hard part of doing bat reps.
Exactly.
Because you actually also want to respect the time with your friends.
Right.
And they have to be kind of
on board.
One thing I always liked about doing the battle reports is that it's giving us a snapshot of our games and it's bringing it to life. You know, it's like when Dan and I put our together, it becomes a narrative story as I'm doing it.
Right.
And it adds a bit of life to it, you know, to the actual just throwing dice at each other, you know, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I like about tabletop gaming is the story, you know, and I don't think I get that's in spades with bolt action. It's just like literally it could be a movie. After you get done playing, just about every time, even a Bug Eater, you sit there and, you know, it's a tournament setting even, and you're like hashing out, you know, where you're having this tank duel over here about this, you know, this sniper that, you know, couldn't do anything or did amazing things, or the squad that started on the one side of the board and they did all these things and ended up clear over here on the other side of the board, and all the stuff that they saw and did. And it's just the narrative is so powerful in that game, I think, and probably a lot of games too. Maybe that one I think because it's true line of sight, terrain is crucially important. Placement within the terrain is important. So I think it lends itself to, you know, most kids have run around, or at least when I was little, we all played Army Men, we called it, you know, where we had sticks for guns if we didn't have a toy gun, and we pretend we were, you know, ran around and pretended we were assaulting something or defending something, and it just captures that in the game. And I win or lose, I'm not so much caring about that.
Right.
That kind of brings up an interesting point.
But...
You know, growing up, how many kids played, let's play Navy.
Navy, you're right. Let's play Air Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always Army Men. I don't know why. We played Army Men.
Yeah,
not even Marines, man. We were just Army Men.
Yeah. We're live action green Army Men,
yeah. Yeah, same.
Yeah, we'd pick up corn cobs out of the fields and we'd use those for grenades. We had them jammed in our pockets, and we had a time.
Now we took ours to the next level. It's like there was this back in the 70s. There's this movie called Suicide Run. Where
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, it was like I think it's supposed to take place. It was against the Japanese, and we took it to life where we actually played our game, and we had our BB guns and everything else, and it's like we set up. Our brothers and I would set up, and it was like a team, and it's like you're like a team of two of us. We're supposed to infiltrate and get to the next to the barn. We had this big giant post, and your job was to get there and touch the post, and if you did, you won without getting shot. Literally, you know, if you got shot, because you go, "Ay!" So you would try to
did the same
infiltrate.
thing, but we didn't use actual live ammo.
Yeah, well, we like live ammo. It was like took the mystery out of it. But
Did you
never
ever
had a BB gun? Our folks wouldn't let us have guns.
Well, we sort of made bad decisions with ours, but and hindsight is like,
You still
you
got
could have
both
got a
your
nice
eyes.
gun. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. You could have.
Have you ever guys heard of the Junior Reserve Corps Training Corps?
Corps.
Well, they're basically for like high school and middle school kids.
Yeah.
The Junior Reserve, like, have you heard of those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the reason you reminded me of something I hadn't thought about in a long time, because I always play with Army men too. But my grandfather was in the Navy, and so he also he was a carpenter. So at times when I was a kid, he would make boats and stuff like just things like that. But when I was in the Junior Naval Reserve, when I was in like elementary school and middle school and stuff, and it was basically instead of like being in the Cub Scouts, and basically it was all like military related and it was kind of cool. Like you could specialize in different areas. They would teach you about small engines, like machinist mate, and like things like that. Or you would like be on where they would do the rifle drills, like not with real rifles, but you would like march and like learn how to do all like the kind of drills that they would do, and it was actually pretty cool. And so when Rusty said, "Did you ever play Navy?" I'm thinking, actually, I kind of did. But
You're right.
This was actually like an organized thing, and we actually would go to see like real ships and go to naval bases and like do stuff like that too, like on a weekend, like there'd be like trips like that and stuff.
Oh, cool.
This is called I was looking it up because like it's probably changed since then. Like right now, it says Wikipedia says the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, the JROTC, commonly pronounced JROTC, is a federal program sponsored by the United States Armed Forces in high schools, also in some middle schools across the United States, and at U.S. military bases across the world. The program was originally created as part of the National Defense Act of 1916. The purpose of the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps is to instill in students in the United States secondary educational institutions the values of citizenship, service to the United States, and personal responsibility, a sense of accomplishment. Additional objectives are established by the service departments of the Department of Defense. It's kind of interesting. Developing citizenship and patriotism, developing self-reliance and responsiveness to all authority. Improving the ability to communicate well, both orally and writing, developing an appreciation of the importance of physical fitness. It probably has a lot of things that some of the entry level in the armed forces, they think are important too, I would imagine. But it was kind of an interesting piece of my past, but
it's core. P silent.
Silent P. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My P is never silent.
Well, it should have been tonight.
You're trying to say yours rattles around a bit?
Like a waterfall 2 blocks away. No.
Yeah, it was like we had JROTC in junior in high schools around here still.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stryker says, let's play Coast Guard.
Yeah. Chris's kids around here play Space Force.
Space Force.
Chris's cadets here in Canada. I joined the reserves here in Canada at 16. My dad's permission while I was in high school. With my dad's permission while in high school.
Oh, okay. 16. Okay.
Naval Reserve.
I did that stuff really young. It was like instead of being in Boy Scouts, like that's what I did.
Yeah.
Half the stuff I did at that age was like people putting stuff in front of me and me just going and doing it. Like, it was like I didn't even think about it. It was like, yeah, like it was just like, know, and I guess my grandfather being in the Navy probably like that probably made sense, I guess. But it was a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing.
I was in the Mech Warrior Reserves, man.
On planet Terra.
Well, I was sitting there serving when I served in the Naval Reserves in the Coast Guard.
Chris, he's like, I was in an Atlas platoon when I was 16.
Ouch.
I gotta grab my glue. I'll be right back here.
Not the glue. Don't grab the glue.
When he comes back, I gotta grab a piece of paint too. I'll keep things company here while we're waiting. I'm thinking of. I gotta do I'm doing a different color skin tone on 3 of these beastmen than I typically do. A little lighter, so I'm thinking I'm gonna go with more of a. I was thinking I'm gonna go for more of a red tone on the fur, but I think I actually got the right color in front of me to do that. Now that I think about it.
Hang on a second. I was forgetting what I have already assembled here. So I got an NCO already done or not.
Well, why don't we go to the next topic? And then we can come up with some new topics, because we've been kind of lingering around the same ones for the last couple of shows, because we've just been kind of freestyling a lot. But the next one is like, what makes a good day of gaming?
Conan, what makes a good day of gaming?
What is best in gaming days? Dan, why don't you start this one?
For me, it's when you crush your opponent at all costs.
And hear the lamentation of
They're women.
And hear the lamentation all week long.
Yeah, I like to leave my opponent in tears. Then I know I had a. Yes. Yeah, if they're not in tears when we're done, it wasn't a good day.
Well, you would help if you quit putting onions under their nose.
Well, you got to do what you can. Help yourself, Yeah, I don't know. The days I have the most fun gaming is because I thought about that a little bit today, and it's always, again, when you're playing against a like-minded opponent, and for me, again, that's when we're getting more narrative, and not ultra competitive. But then I like it too if it's not, it's like noon. Okay, here we're getting really specific, right? But so you got plenty of time. It's it's on the weekend. You're not exhausted. It's not the middle of the night. But yeah, just a good narrative game. It's particularly fun if it's at least is close. Because that's usually it's kind of the nail biters, which I would say most of the bolt action games. Again, bolt action. I know, drink, right? But though almost every game I play of bolt action is like close.
Yeah.
Except for a few games at the tournament because somebody killed me. But I think that's kind of it for me. I like playing with a buddy. Somebody. That's basically for me. It's Mark and Rusty, but that we're just having a good time. I like to. We like to chit chat, not be in any rush. I don't mind if we spend 4 or 5 hours working on the game to some degree and hanging out. And yeah, if you've got nicely painted miniatures and a nice table, good terrain, that's it for me. I mean, that's all I'm asking.
How about you, Rusty?
Well, it's I always look at it as the social contract of what makes a good day is everybody getting, playing something they want to enjoy, sitting back, and everybody comes away. Even if you lose, you felt like you had a good day because you spent time with your friends. And that's the important thing. Is that you're coming away feeling like you've actually did something more than just throwing dice. You're sitting around, and you may spent half the day BSing with them, and
Yeah. I love rehashing the game after it's over. That's fun.
Looks like a nerd's nerd has joined us. Hello, hello.
Howdy ho.
We are doing well. We are on a topic of what makes a good gaming day. And Stryker says hot dogs and Pepsi. Sounds like a good.
Chris is kicked out.
Chris says, I have to run. My computer guy is done downloading my new software. Talk to you later. All right. See you, Chris.
All right. See you, Chris.
I agree with all your guys' comments. I mean, in particular, I think it's important that you have fun with the people that you're hanging out with, like you're saying. But to maybe add my own spin to it, I'll kind of just reiterate something my friend said about the game that we had the other day. And he had said, it's been a while, I felt like I was engaged the entire 5 hours, just really engaged. And I think back to some of my favorite games at times where I've lost, I lose and I still really enjoy the day. And I come back to days of when we were playing a lot of Star Wars Armada. I just love the game so much. And there are pivotal moments that I knew this is the round where we're at maximum position to each other, where our naval ships, or our ships, in this case, the galactic ships, are in this sort of key moment. It's if everything I plan worked out well, considering what my opponent planned and executed, this is the time where it's going to work or it's not going to. And then everything else right before and after it kind of augments it, but this is 60% of it, if that makes sense. Out of the 5 rounds, this is 60% of it. And there's a lot of games a culmination point in Star Wars Armada. And I feel whenever I've played those games, I've always walked away thinking about the game and just really enjoyed it. And even when I lost, just thinking about it, and it just captured my mind and my attention. And to me, a good gaming day is a game also when I feel really engaged in the game, to the point where even when I leave, I think about it. It captures my attention.
Yeah. Sometimes it's you're sitting there rehashing all the events of the game, and you're trying to figure out nuances that, maybe that could have been different, or boy, he really did something really different to me that time. It's I wasn't expecting that. And it's
and even when you lose, you think it was such a good experience.
Yeah.
You feel like it was a really good experience, even when you've lost.
So what makes it that good experience? I mean, you kind of said it, but I didn't feel like it's sort of that fuzzy feeling you get. What gives it?
Well, first of all,
what made it that good experience?
There's one bare minimum requirement I have, and this is being really obvious, and it's not the thing that makes it totally good, but it has to be in place, and that is I have to feel like I had a chance.
Yeah.
Okay. There are games that I've played where I don't feel like it's not me being sore loser. It's not me,
no.
I truly feel from the moment we started the game, I never had a chance. Because of the way the game is. Something like that. And if that happens, there is sometimes very little opportunity for me to rank it up there with like an inspiring game, like experience, you know.
Right.
I can do really poorly, but as long as I feel like it was because of me, and even like I can handle the randomness of dice rolls and things like that, and like realize I had a bad day, like a dice day, whatever, right? If I'm going to attribute to that, that's fine. Like that's fine. But if I felt like there was never a chance because of maybe the asymmetry of the game, like I'm not really sure, like, but then that's not going to happen. Second, I have to feel like there's like, I'm using like my Star Wars Armada example as like the example, but you know, like Saga comes to mind to me. I've had a lot of really fun games with Saga like this too, where I walk away and I feel like it was such an awesome game, even though I lost, and I just felt really engaged because of the strategy of the battle board in Saga, coupled with the tabletop portion of the game and the generalship and like that aspect. I can walk away and feel as if I really had to think, you know, in a good way. Like it was like I needed to make my strategy with the battle board work for the miniatures on the table and couple that with the movement and how I positioned the guys and did all of this. And same thing with Star Wars Armada. I needed to make my plan and the way I kitted out all my ships, and then the way I was going to have different ships support each other, and where I was going to put them and how I was going to direct them, and make all this culminate in a way that is kind of fascinating in some ways. Like I just find it kind of really it's like mental candy, like you know, and it just causes this thinking that's enjoyable versus thinking that you have to do but you're not enjoying. Like that's possible too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's possible to have like a type of thinking that's required that you're not enjoying. So it has to have that. Go ahead.
It's like there's sometimes you have a game, it just sucks the living soul out of you. You're just like after
Exactly.
it's like by the time it's done, you're just like, oh God, I'm so glad this is over. It's just like
yeah. No, exactly. And so if you walk away and you feel like you were really engaged, but you love the thinking and you're still thinking about it, that does it for me.
Yeah.
Those are two things that
for me, it still comes down to narrative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I love the narrative, and like when we play Warhammer Fantasy, like I love the narrative that unfolds for the same reasons you just said. Like it and I love that in Musket and Tomahawks too. There are certain games that I play that's a really big part of it. But I'll be honest with you, like when I play Star Wars Armada, as much as like I can imagine the ships on screen, like, you know, for like a Star Wars movie, I'm not as big of a Star Wars fan that I'm thinking about the background as much. Like I'm mostly actually just trying to like on that particular game. So I think there are some games where I get really immersed into the background, and then there are others that I view more like a game, like just like a purely like pieces on the table, and like this is a game for me. Like I don't know.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
like, because I actually
that's
agree
what
with you.
That's what makes miniature gaming, you know, magical to me, is because it's the physical representation of that. Because I enjoy board games, and I play a lot of war board, you know, chit encounter, hex encounter games, and that to me is more of just trying to win. You know, I'm not visualizing it the way I do with miniature gaming, and for me that is what is fun about it. Is, I mean, there's times when you just stand there. I mean, Mark and I particularly will do it where we'll just be like, oh my God, you know, get down here and look, come over on my side here, come down and look, and where you can see like your tank through the rubble over there and my guy's coming around. I mean, we're just like, we're like playing the game is almost like secondary. It's almost like we're kids playing with our little plastic soldiers, and the game is just like a reason to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's awesome.
And that's why I tournaments like that Mr. Bug Eater that I talked to you about there. I like it because I can get games in, and the tables are quality, and a lot of the painting is extremely high quality, and the guys and gals are always nice, and it's friendly and it's fun, but it's not the same experience for me. If that was my only gaming experience, I wouldn't be as motivated to game. I guess
Yeah.
when I look at it that way, that kind of answers my own question, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it isn't necessarily narrative there. It's definitely trying to win, you know, using the rules to your best advantage, which is cool.
Right.
I mean, I like that. I mean, I'm competitive. I like to win.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the magic for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't paint these. I could move. You know, there's some gorgeous hex and counter games out there with the beautiful maps and great big thick counters and bold colors and all kinds of neatness there. You can do the Battle of Stalingrad that way and not spend any time, you know, painting and building and
Exactly.
Right. And there are certain games that you may not even try to play. Like, I don't really know. I can't speak for you, Dan, but like, I'll give you an example. I was chatting with Rusty about Victory at Sea by Warlord Games. Their big Pacific ship. I think they do more than
Yep,
Pacific too,
I'm
but the
familiar with
big
it.
battle. Yeah. So that when you look at that,
Yep.
there's not a lot of terrain. It's sort of a big blue map. It's mostly, in my mind, about the game. Like, it's like you can look at the ships, kind of look cool, but it's like you're looking at them from like a plane. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting down close and looking at anything. I mean, you know, you might be able to get a little bit of fun with that, but it's mostly the game. And so you have to imagine this happening on a grand scale, like, you know, and that you're seeing this happen on this like grand scale with these huge ships,
right?
You know, and I think you could get into the narrative of that, but I think maybe it could be harder for some people in comparison to playing bolt action on your board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It could be looked at more like a game. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
You might never even be interested in a game like that for that reason.
It's not much different than a hex and counter game with. Well, and that may be. See, that's what, you know, if you try to analyze why you like the things you do, then you really have to look at, you know, then that gets complicated, you know, self-analyzation. But and maybe that's why I the skirmish. But it's funny because you'd say, well, then I would only like skirmish games, right? Because that's, by the things I've described, that's what I'm drawn to, right? But yet I love the mass battle look of, you know, either whether it's Warhammer Fantasy or like AWI, like those couple games Rusty and I, where we had the 4x6 table, really wasn't big enough for the two AWI forces we had. They were just all jammed on top of each other, and you know, so I like that too, but I don't get that quite that same sense of person, you know, again, but there's a lot of skirmish games that I look at and they don't intrigue me. So I'm not, I don't know what it is, but I know I know what I like, but I don't always know what that's going to be.
There is a lot of character still in, like, let's say Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Like, when you look at your armies and on the table, like, there's still enough character there that I'm guessing it still draws you to it. Somebody once said to me that they view anything less than 1,000
yeah, I think so.
men as being skirmish. And so, like, you could almost argue that Warhammer Fantasy Battle, by some people's definition, is still a skirmish game. Like, the people that play 6 mil and like really big mass battles, or like 2 mil, like, and or hex encounters of, like, you know, where you're playing with thousands of troops, like tens of thousands. And so, like, in some ways, like, I call Warhammer Fantasy Battle a mass battle game, like, because I don't play like at that scale, you know. But there are some folks that would say, like, that's not really a mass battle game, like, you know, in their mind, you know.
That's not. I know.
And are you one of those, Rusty?
Well, yeah, Warhammer Fantasy is basically, I consider, like a company level game. Okay. It's not like a divisional style mass game. if you're playing at 15 mil system. Then
But I don't
you're
necessarily look at Warhammer Fantasy. I never did anyway in my mind that each man was one man. It was still, to me, it was like, yeah, your regiment of 20 spearmen isn't literally 20 spearmen. I guess I never really think of it. I still think of it like you'd see on the covers of the game boxes. You know, it's this mass of dudes.
See, I guess I don't, because
but I guess
look at
just
the
in my
models.
head I'm doing that, which isn't necessarily what it is, but
because I look at the models and like what I see is what I think it is. Like, and even if it's not meant to represent it, like you're saying, maybe it's meant to represent more, but like what I see for Warhammer Fantasy in particular, like I look at it and like what I see is what I actually attribute to it in my head. So when I see 20 goblins versus 10 elves, I think that there's 20 goblins versus 10 elves.
We got somebody
there.
in.
Hey there, Frazier. Looks like
okay.
Said he's having a quick. I know we're totally off on his
Oh
time
wow,
zone.
Frazier,
Yeah,
hey.
we're totally off on his time zone. It looks like he's having a. We're talking about mass battles and what is a mass battle.
Getting ready for work.
Game.
Well,
Yeah,
if it says, I always like to say, if it says in the rule book,
he definitely knows what mass battles.
Yes, he does. Sometimes after the game.
Yeah. Sometimes after the game, we talk about different things like an AAR, things I could have done differently or should have done instead of an ETC.
After action review or AAR. That's that military thing coming across.
After action report, yeah. I don't know what an ETC is. What's that mean?
Etc.
Yeah.
Well, so like nobody's right or wrong on that, Dan. I don't think it's just like, but when I see like 10 elves, I think of 10 elves, you know, like,
no.
But I guess it's just the way we force ourselves to think about things or prefer to think about things, I guess.
Well, you get into some game systems where they'll say each model represents 10.
Well, and I'm not saying
men.
Yeah. Well, and I don't consciously think that. I think just in my mind I'm thinking that, but you know, like the knights, I'm thinking it's 12 knights, you know. I don't know. I just yeah. But then you could say, well, you need to get down to 15 millimeter or smaller to really truly do a mass battle, unless you've got a 16-foot table, you know, which, you know, that there's some truth to that. It's still, you know, there's no right answer there. Yeah, it's whatever you like and can do. But
yeah,
that's the one reason I'm interested in doing the American Civil War in 15 millimeter, which I do have some miniatures, is because I think there I can do even using a 4x8 table, I could have a pretty massive battle. And I know a lot of the rule sets, they like to say, well, you know, in this game, in the rule system, one guy equals 15 or whatever. And I don't get into that so much, and I'm not necessarily into historical refights, and so I don't care what it represents exactly, but I just want it to look cool. You know, that's all I care about.
Absolutely.
And when you got them all ranked up and they're blocks of regiments, you know, it does look cool.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what it is. Like even now, I have these 24 Perry AWI here, and they're not just sitting primed in a wad. I literally have them ranked up because it looks, and they're sitting here next to me that I kind of look at while I'm working on this terrain.
Yeah,
just because
even when you're
it
painting
literally
them,
looks cool. I don't know what it is about that. Maybe it's the and then even while I'm painting them, I paint 8, and then I have them sitting there ranked up when they're done before I start the next 8. It literally is inspiring to see that. It looks cool. Maybe it's the human mind likes order, or it's just the way I'm wired. But
I think that's true to some degree. Like, I think it feeds our imagination of what they should be like. Because I used to do the same when I was painting my British Ep. I found it as I was getting through it, and I was seeing them coming together, and I would have them all ranked up on my table. Like, that time I did like 40 in one shot. I was like, British Chef, French Indian War. I was like inspired when I would just see them all ranked up in a mass.
The blob.
Yes. The blob.
Yeah, it's like an individual
little
15 doesn't. An individual 15 doesn't.
Still can't believe you did
inspiring. But you put 100 or 200 of them on the table, it's awe.
No.
I can't say I'll never do it
it's good to
again,
get
but I
the
don't know
sense.
if I'll ever
Yeah.
do it again the same way. But
The what? Oh, the 40
doing
guys.
all 40 at once. Yeah.
That's the only way to do it.
I know there's some people like you.
What
just
inspired you
no
to do
problem.
that?
I don't know. I think that it just seemed like the only way. I wanted to get them all done. It just
I
seemed like
wouldn't be able to do that.
the way I should do it, but I just.
Well, they were mostly monopose, right?
They were, yeah.
So when they're all monopose, it's like I have no problem. So you just line them up. You do that piece, the same piece on all of them. You go down the next piece.
Yeah.
And it just goes so quickly that way.
Man, it sounds just like that too.
Yeah, it's just zip.
Wise ass.
Yeah. Jeez.
Hey, boo boo.
I like to have results quicker, so that's why I have to do 24 regiments is the most I've ever done, and I don't paint more than 8 within that regiment at a time. I have in bolt action painted 10 or 12 guys, like a whole squad at a time of 10 or 12. That's it for me. 8, if they're like any complexity at all, is all I do. 8 or 10 at the most. Otherwise, I don't feel. I just because I could spend like an hour a night, and it would take me a couple weeks before I feel like they're even starting to come. Like I'm even getting them close to getting them blocked in.
Yeah.
So I would find that soul crushing. For me personally.
So I have an interesting thought about that. At least it's interesting to me. It may not be to you guys. I don't enjoy the stages of painting equally. Like I actually don't enjoy every aspect of the painting process exactly the same. I have certain aspects that I like better than others. And so what that tells me is that for me is that if I actually paint in smaller batches, it allows me to get through the processes I don't like faster, but it also makes me get through the processes that I like faster. And then I have to get to the processes again that I don't like as much when I start the next batch quicker. The interesting thing about a huge batch that I did notice when I did that is that it made getting the initial base colors on that much more painful because it took me that much longer to get anywhere, to get them to look any closer to anything like I want them to look to.
Right.
But then once I was settled in to all of like what I'll call the advanced things, but I just mean like highlights and washes and like doing the eyes and like putting all these touches on them. And like, once I could actually settle into that for like a longer period of time and work on that. And I had all of this stuff up in front of me that I was like really excited about for longer. Then it actually was worth it towards the end. Like, does that make sense? Like it was like I had 40 models on my desk.
Okay.
For a couple of weeks longer than I normally would, looking better and putting touches on them and working on them every day in that condition. And I was like feeling really good about it. But the first half, like the part that I didn't like as much, was a bit more torturous. And so what's better? Is it better to have more time
right
in the areas you like but suffer through it more, or is it better to just do it, kind of get through each quickly? I think it really depends. I'm not saying I know, like I don't know, but I do know that I really liked that period of time towards the end when I was working for weeks on all the areas that I liked. I don't know.
Now, if it depends on the type of model
yeah,
for me.
that makes sense.
If I have, it's like when I was doing those Blood and Plunder ones, the pirates,
Mm-hmm.
and every model's different.
Mm-hmm.
And so that case, it was pretty much, it got to the point where it was just easier to do a couple models from start to finish than it is to do the batch paint, because then you're trying to do everything individually. It just takes forever.
Yeah.
And for me, if I have 20, 40 models, they're all identical, I can crank those things out and nothing flat, just because I can just crank on them. It's because that's all, everything's the same. That I don't even think about it. I'm just on autopilot. But if I have to do something that's each model is totally different, it's like, okay, I have to think and think and think and think. And it's like, sometimes it's torture for me, because then it's, I'm overthinking how I want to do things.
Yeah. And then, like, you feel like there's so much work to be put into the preparation for each model, like, as opposed to just kind of getting them all done, like having and that's the hard thing, like with painting even small skirmish force, like even for like skirmish war games where you only have like 10 models, is that you still sometimes have to do each one, like a plan for each one separately to some degree.
Yeah.
That's interesting too.
And for me, I have sometimes it's that planning stage that drives me nuts, that I'll sit there and overthink it forever before I finally figure out what I want to do.
I think we're all built a little differently, and I think a lot of this is like psychology. So like we're all kind of, you know what I mean? Like how everybody, what people like and how they feel about it. Like I get the sense when I watch some YouTube painters like that just burn through like tons of miniatures, like I sometimes get the sense that a lot of the frustrations that I have, like with certain aspects, like they don't feel at all. Like when I actually watch them, like, you know, because they just like burn through it. Like you never hear about that and all that stuff. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely psychology and mind games. You know how you, because that's for me, like a regiment of 24. I'll start with 8 of the regular dudes, and then once they're done and sitting there, I'm like, okay, then that Then because like you say, the base coating, their blocking and colors is my least favorite part, and I think most people would say that.
It's mine.
But I got those done, and I've kind of learned how to get into the different, you know, kind of the approaches to get to the different folds and the different, you know, turn backs and stuff. So then on the next ones, they go a little bit quicker through that phase. And I've got the ones that are done sitting there kind of like inspiring. And then I always save the command group for last. So then after I'm kind of, okay, now I've painted 16 of grunts, you know, now I've got like the command group. So now this is kind of a fresh thing, and then it's done. But that's how you know, it's not like I enjoy the process. It's not like I got to somehow make myself paint them, but I find that to be easy and enjoyable to do it that way. But you know, it's learning what works for the way your mind works, I guess.
Absolutely. No, I would agree with that. And like some of the things you mentioned, like, go ahead.
I was going to say, it sounds like you enjoy leaving the dessert for last when your command groups.
Me or Dan?
Dan.
Yeah, well, it gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, and by then I feel like I've really, you know, I've done 16 already, so I've even the way I'm doing my shading or the washes or whatever, I've kind of perfected that. You know, for this batch or the cuffs, you know, I'm doing blue cuffs this time, so I've got it kind of down how I'm doing it. So that your eye's always drawn to the command group anyway, so I figure I want them to look the best, and it gives me something if I had to paint another 8 of the same, I could do that too. But now all of a sudden they're different. They're different poses. You got the drummer, you got the 2 standard bearers. So that's all. It's kind of a new. You're not getting in a boredom rut thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
slog.
That makes sense.
Flogging away.
Well, gentlemen,
I don't know if it does, but it works for me.
I know that we've been going till 11, and I know we used to go till 10, but I do actually probably have to head off closer to a normal time. We're still over what we normally used to do, but I do have to kind of go at this point, I think, and call it. We've gotten through 2 topics tonight, which is good, in addition to talking about a lot of other stuff, which was cool.
Yeah, I do too.
I got a bunch.
Yeah, it's good. I got to get going too.
I got some stuff done tonight. Me
too.
Put some base coats of paint on my 12 mechs I've been working on. Put a wash on them. Assembled a bunch of miniatures.
I painted 3 different base skin tones on 7 different beastmen, and then also did their fur. And so that's actually pretty good for beastmen because except for the champions who have a bit more armor, that's a huge amount of the models. Speaking of getting the base tones out of the way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like now I've come along.
Yeah, right.
Get all the base color on these, and then it's pretty good. So well,
nice. Good.
Thank you for everybody for stopping by, as usual. Folks chiming in tonight.
Let's say it's
yeah.
You got today's the
always good to have people along.
Yeah.
Today is the 16th.
It is. All right. Wow, it's like the time
getting into
date on this thing over here is all wrong.
December.
All right. I got the 4th. It says it's 12:15, 11:14. The time on this laptop is way off.
Well, gentlemen, I think I'm gonna pull the plug here.
You're gonna bug out. Pull the plug.
Thanks to everyone. And
sounds good.
What I was gonna say though is that all right. We got the 16th, so on it'll be the 30th, right? The next time we have a show
should be around then. It'll be over on Rusty's channel.
Yeah, over on my show.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for good evening, guys.
2 weeks. Night, everyone.
Night.
Good night, everybody.